Normally Mondays here we talk about MotoGP, but this Monday we're talking about MotoAmerica. And it was a pretty wild weekend at Road Atlanta. Before I get into all the details, if you would like, follow, share, mash all the buttons so you get all the MotoGP content, MotoAmerica content, and motorcycle content you can possibly imagine. And hey, just in case TikTok does get banned, why don't you head on over to YouTube and subscribe there as well. So this weekend at Road Atlanta in MotoAmerica, it was really a tale of 2 days. We had Saturday that was dry and very fast, and we had Sunday that was very, very wet, but then slowly drying, making things very complicated. Now, before I get into the big three categories that I'm going to spend most of my time talking about, a little shout out to the Bellissimoto Twins Cup. Rocco Landers had an amazing performance on Saturday, couldn't back it up on Sunday in the rain, but Dominic Doyle basically put on a clinic on Sunday in how to race in the wet. It was phenomenal. But on to Supersport class on Saturday, where preseason favorite Ty Scott was leading the race and was not looking backward, until he was looking straight at the sky. He had a pretty nasty crash while leading that race that spit him across the circuit, and I was worried for a second the other bikes were going to hit him. Now, with Ty Scott out of the picture in race one, it really became a two-man battle between the very experienced veteran PJ Jacobsen and the rookie to the class, Blake Davis. And Blake Davis had no fear at getting after it. He made several pass attempts, he was really good in the braking zones, but at the end of the day, it was PJ Jacobsen that got to the top step of the podium. Blake Davis gets second, and Matthew Skoltz, who had started the race in Denver, I think. I mean, that's how far back he was. He carves his way through the entire pack to get himself on the podium in third place. So on to the Superbike race, where Josh Herrin got an amazing hole shot, but Bobby Fong was not letting him get away. He started this race fantastically. The problem was Bobby Fong was just a little bit too aggressive going into the last corner. He punts Herrin off the track and out of contention for the podium. Josh Herrin would end up coming home fifth in the race. From there on out, it was kind of a three-man battle between Jake Gagne, Bobby Fong, and Cameron Beaubier. And like Cameron does, he looked like he was just comfortable sitting there in second and third place the whole race, letting it play out. And then with a couple laps to go, he pulls the pin, goes by everybody, and wins the race. I mean, this guy can ride a freaking motorcycle. Gagne finishes second, and Bobby Fong finishes third on the podium, but doesn't have time for his podium interview because he's running straight back to the pits to get on his bagger. But Bobby Fong did not have the same kind of start on the bagger that he had in the Superbike race. I mean, he went backwards. And this race became kind of a 2x2 battle. A battle for first between Troy Herfoss and Kyle Wyman, and a battle for third between Tyler O'Hara and Hayden Gillum. And it was Troy Herfoss's day on Saturday. He rode a really, really good race. He stayed aggressive, he stayed fast, he was able to keep Kyle Wyman behind him for the majority of the race. Really good job to win this one. Kyle Wyman comes in second, and Hayden Gillum gets the better of Tyler O'Hara to take third. Then on Sunday, it rained, and it poured, and it was very, very wet for the Supersport race. But once again, it was PJ Jacobsen fighting Blake Davis. Is this a preview of what the whole season is going to be like? It just might be. But Blake was a little too aggressive, hit a little wet patch on the brakes, and slid out right in front of PJ. I thought they were going to collide. PJ manages to navigate the corner and gets through safely, but Blake out of the race. And that kind of handed the win to PJ Jacobsen. No one really laid a hand on him the rest of the race, which means he starts the Supersport season with 2 wins. Top step of the podium, both Saturday and Sunday. We had Corey Alexander finishing second, Jake Lewis finishing third, and Matthew Skoltz once again cutting through the entire field on a rain-soaked track to come in fourth. And the track was drying very quickly once we got to the Superbike race. And for a majority of the race, it was a battle once again between Yamaha and BMW. But it wasn't Cameron Beaubier. Beaubier got a horrible launch off the line and was stranded mid-pack, while his teammate JD Beach was fighting for the lead with Jake Gagne, who took the whole shot. But Cam gonna do what Cam gonna do. I mean, he was the fastest guy in this race, lap after lap. At one point, he was 10 seconds behind the leaders. And then with 5 laps to go, he's right there with them. And JD Beach, who was exchanging blows with Jake Gagne, makes a tiny mistake, goes through a little bit of standing water, the bike spits him off. Really unfortunate. But he ends up getting back on the bike. He crashes, washes the bike down the road. He's up on his feet so quickly, runs over, gets the bike back going, up the track, ends up finishing fourth. Cameron Peterson was coming home in third, but it was still a battle at the front between, guess who? Cam Beaubier, Jake Gagne. And I think Cam might have burned out his tires a little too much to really push Gagne in the final laps. Jake Gagne comes home in first, Cameron Beaubier has to settle for second. So 2 races, 1 win apiece for these guys. So on to the baggers, where at this point the track is almost completely dry with just a few wet spots around. So the question is, do you go with rain tires or slicks? Troy Herfoss gambles on the slicks and he puts everyone else in the dust. He handled it magnificently, never put a foot wrong, wins the race by a mile, kilometer, whatever you want to use. He wins the race by a lot. So the rest of the podium battle was between Tyler O'Hara, Max Flinders, and Hayden Gillim. And Max Flinders, who had just crashed on the final lap of the Superbike race, runs to the pits, gets on his bagger, and he's fighting for a podium. And then he almost launches himself to the sky on the slick part of the track. He somehow saves it, keeping that motorcycle up on two wheels, somehow also keeps Hayden Gillim behind him and gets third place, while Tyler O'Hara finishes second. And there you go. It was a big weekend in Atlanta for MotoAmerica, and if you haven't been watching the series, it's not too late. Get on it. It's good.